I know I'm coming. They know I'm coming. I know they gonna be there, and they know I'm gonna do the best job I can possibly do.
Y'all know how this works, man. Y'all know how this works. It never starts on time. We're gonna do what we can do, but I can't have a Doak Boys interview without the guest. Then it would just be a Doak Boy, and y'all get that Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 9:30-ish. That's why we always talk about that. That's why we're not on terrestrial radio. Terrestrial radio, we would have had to find some filler, but one of the worst things you could do is have dead air. So what we're going to what we're going to do is want to make this quick intro, quick housekeeping thing. So for right now, I would appreciate if you guys, take the YouTube, share this out there. What's up, my boy Bo? We got Bo on the pod today. Take this, share. What you're going to hear right now is authentic conversations that only two people who have lived this. Not everybody who goes to Florida State can be considered the Doak Boys. Doak Boys did this thing called mat drills. So they didn't do mat drills. They did not get hazed, or excuse me, hazing is illegal. We'll talk about that a little bit with X2. Tradition building. They didn't do the tradition building that we did, but there's still no brothers the same. But I want us to come in. If you got good questions, you got great questions, please add those. For those who understand the humor of the channel, we do not take whites questions. We take coloreds questions. And those who know who my coloreds are, those are my members. Those are the ones who paid. That means you're a greenie. If you're a greenie, you ask your question. If you aren't a greenie, that means you come up in white. That means you need to go put you either need to become a member or you could go hit the super chat live. Also, if you're watching this on Twitter, appreciate you guys for joining in, but we don't answer questions from Twitter because we don't get paid for that. We get paid on YouTube. So come on over to the YouTube, come in, join the conversation. We would love to have you guys here. The guest that we have today is probably one of the actually I play with a ton of really good athletes, but definitely one of the better athletes that I've ever seen play quarterback. In general, big, fast, can throw the ball a country yard, not a country yard, country mile. Can throw it from here to Daytona, from Tallahassee to Daytona, if we really put it to him. 5-star prospect, a big deal when we landed him. Great story. Definitely for those who have kids who are going through the process, probably going to be one of those videos that you need to show them about how to work, how to go through it, and how to live the dream. As I always tell people, before I became a Seminole, I was a fan. I got a chance to play in it, and now I get a chance to cover it and still be a fan. So I'm going to learn a lot about a former teammate of mine as well. That's at least my plan and my goal when it comes to this. Trying to figure out what else we want to talk about here before we do the intros. Oh, we're on the road to try to get to 5,000 subs. We're 424 away from it. Please, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, consider becoming subscribing. That costs you absolutely nothing to just go click the like button. Once we get to 5,000 subs, we'll give away $500 on Big Games BS on that next show. So without further ado, Daytona Seabreeze's zone. Xavier Lee, everybody. What's going on?
Hey, not much, man. How's it going your way?
Hey, man, I'm just happy that it's not really cold anymore. It's been – where are you at these days?
Man, Omaha, Nebraska. So don't talk to me about being cold.
My bad. Yeah, my bad. That's way colder, man. That's way colder, man. But somebody said don't take it personally. You were late to your own wedding?
I'm pretty sure that's my wife right now. And yes, I was. What had happened was I was late to our wedding. It was a long drive.
Man, that had to be like, did they know?
No.
Oh,
my mother-in-law, she met me in the driveway, like, where the hell you been? Problem was, where we got married was on my wife's ranch, which is out in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. Okay. So it's probably about 25 to 30 minutes from an actual stoplight. So we were in town getting ready and just took a little behind schedule, but I was only about 10 minutes late, so it wasn't too terrible.
Oh, okay. I was like, because that could probably feel like an eternity when
Yeah.
considering how weddings and stuff go. So but that's a very interesting way to kick it off. I had to put that one on there. So I figured that was somebody that actually really, really knew you right there. So,
yeah.
But let's go. Let's just go back through the entire project. Again, Xavier Lee, quarterback at Florida State. One of the things I was talking to people about was I remember your freshman year, your actual, not your redshirt freshman year. It would have been your actual freshman year because Chris was there still. But on Thursday practices, you, Chris, Drew, and Wyatt would right before everybody get into the stadium or whatever. I would do this quarterback. I called it the quarterback Olympics. I don't know what the fuck you guys were actually doing, but you would take a knee, you would throw the ball into see who could throw the ball the furthest on one knee. Then you would see who could throw the ball the furthest on 2 feet. Then it would be running up and then throwing it. And could be my memory could just have maybe embellished this, but you were one of the first people I think I remember seeing throwing a 60 on a knee. Was that, if I remember it correctly?
No, yeah, I threw it about 65 on one knee. So yeah, coming out of high school, I had a strong freaking arm, but yeah, about 65 yards on one knee. Then when we got to standing up, the furthest I threw was 87 yards.
That's, people don't know, that's far.
Yeah,
that's a long way to be able to throw it. And you also, did you ever learn how to hold the football the right way, or did you always still palm it without the laces on the back of the ball?
Laces, man. See, I always thought, what you got? 3 different. I didn't use the laces, so I just use the spaces or kind of the spine. So anytime you catch the ball, you have about 3 chances to catch that spine. If you're using the laces, you only got 1. So by the time you fill around trying to find the laces, that's a half a second, maybe even a second. If I can find a space that I like, 0.2 seconds, that's one less moment I have to look at the defense. So I always use the spaces, never use laces.
And then the other thing that I remember is your pops came in. Your pops has the biggest hands that I've ever seen. When I shook his hand, he shook the middle of my forearm. So those are just a couple of things that I remember outside of when you first came in. So I don't know how you figured out how you broke. Well, actually, I know how you broke the rule. The year before, we had a guy with dreads that came in, that was coming in, that ended up going to Oklahoma. And Bobby told him about the hair rule. And I guess that was the differentiating between him choosing us in Oklahoma. And we were strictly told that we could not touch your head, that we could not shave, we could not shave X's head, that X could not make the decision to shave his head, that his hair had to be intact. You want to tell the people how you got, now there typically most people who fought had to do something else and get their head shaved. But I think we came to I think everybody came to a cool agreement. Can you share with the people how you got around the head shaving rule?
So when Bobby Bowden visited my house, biggest question I had is that, I was a pretty good athlete. I didn't want to change positions. And I knew just about anywhere you go, there is some sort of initiation. Let's call it initiation, not hazing. So as a sort of initiation, you have to pledge to be a part of the program. And one of the biggest things I said is Bobby, I'm not cutting my hair. I've had it as pretty much who I am. So, if you want me to come there, I'm not cutting my hair. And most of the time, as you know, when you get recruited, coaches will say anything they want to get you in the door. And honestly, that was one of the things that Bobby held up and he said, don't touch X's hair. When everyone started getting their head cut off, Drew, I remember a guy named Chase Walker, Pat Davis, all of them got axed. They had the homie the clown haircut. All of them walking around looking ridiculous. But how I landed is that I had to shave my eyebrows. So all honesty, I kept the hair, but the eyebrows, I did not look good for a good 3-4 weeks. I look like
you look surprised everywhere you went.
Everywhere. Absolute shock. Just, man, if I was playing poker, you didn't know what kind of hand I had. So no, that was a deal I worked out with Bobby that, I didn't want to cut my hair, but I did give a little bit by cutting my eyebrows.
All right, so talk to us about how did you get into football? Like what happened? Did you always play quarterback, or did you play other positions coming up through Pop Warner ball? But walk us through how you got to this.
So, my dad played in the NFL for a while, and I got his jersey behind me, he played for the Chiefs. So, as a kid, you always want to idolize and, live up to your dad's standards. So when I saw that he played football, everyone told me stories because he played back in the mid 70s. I never had a chance to see him play. Obviously, I wasn't born until 86, but I always heard stories that, hey, man, your dad was amazing. He tackled the biggest hands ever. His nickname was Foots. So he was a monster of a man. So coming up, that's all you hear. You want to try to follow in your dad's footsteps. And as you try to follow in your dad's footsteps, you kind of want to make your own. So I didn't start playing football until I was about 7, 8 years old. And I didn't play tackle. I played flag. So when I first started playing flag, I was playing receiver. I was honestly pretty damn slow. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty damn slow. But I still play receiver. There was another kid that was quarterback who was pretty good. And one day we're running routes in practice, and he overthrew me, and I got pissed off. So I threw the ball back at him, threw it over the fence, and it hit like this shed behind it. So until that point, I didn't know I had a strong arm. So I did it again, threw it as far as I could. It was about 45, 50 yards, and I was 8 years old. So from that moment on, as far as me getting pissed off about getting overthrown, that's how I became a quarterback. And, I kind of played it all throughout as a kid, playing catch with my brother, Anthony. But I didn't play tackle until I got to high school. And when I got to high school, that was my first, honestly, taste of tackle football. As a freshman, I was on varsity. As you know now, being a freshman on varsity isn't that big of a deal. But back, when I was in high school, that was kind of a big deal. I didn't play quarterback. I wound up playing safety. I was a senior quarterback ahead of me. So I just didn't really get a shot. So I didn't start playing high school QB until I was a sophomore in high school. And honestly, from that moment on, it's history. First year playing sophomore QB, I led the state in passing. And from every year on, that's the kind of the path I was on.
So you were coached by a Noel, correct?
Who?
Were you the one who had the offensive coordinator that was like a former quarterback?
Yeah, Thad Busby was my one of my coaches in high school. So he was honestly a real reason why I liked Florida State. I mean, he told me all about it, but it was kind of cool to go back and watch his film. Yeah, Thad Busby, man, he had a hell of a record. I mean, I think that was the year that they wound up beating UF in the regular season, then turned around, they got beat by them in the national championship. But no, Thad was, one of my mentors coming out. And also my head coach was Mark Beach. But yeah, Coach Busby, he taught me a lot when I was coming out.
Actually, you know what? We're going to go through other stuff. I want you to kind of, because there's a similar situation right now that we have in the fan base right now where there's a Seminole that, a former Noel that's around 3 really, really big time prospects and gets opportunity. Like, so you said he kind of made you like the Seminoles and stuff like that. Can you kind of just expand on that a little bit? Like, just what was his thoughts about the matter of fact, my question would be, what were his thoughts about the program up to that point? And what did he talk about Bobby was like when he played?
So when he explained to me what the program was, I mean, at that time, FSU was at its pinnacle. In the 90s, it was either UF, Nebraska, Florida State, and a little bit of UM. Actually, I think Tennessee won a national championship around that same time. So Florida State was a household name, and they're a powerhouse. In all honesty, when I grew up, I was kind of a Canes fan. I mean, it was hard not to like the Canes. I mean, you had all the boys you want to think of. They were all there. So it was hard not to like the Canes. But hanging around with Coach Busby, it was interesting to see his perspective. I mean, he played at a very high level. He had some of the best weapons around him, and he even got a shot to play at the next level because of those weapons he had around him. Now, he didn't really tell me much about Bobby. As you know, Bobby in his later years, one of the most hands-on type of approach. But what he explained to me is that the culture at FSU was different than anything I'd ever seen. In all honesty, when I first went to a game, it was my junior year, and FSU played UF. It was cold as heck. I had just got hit in the mouth, and I needed a root canal, so I wasn't really talking much on that visit. But the first time I actually heard War Chant live is like when I got hooked. I mean, because we were in that end zone. I'm not sure which way the end zone is, but wherever the players come out, and obviously that's when the band was on the other side, like, coming up those steps where that big shed is, and just seeing like the chop and just seeing like that go around the crowd. I'm like, damn, like this is where I want to go. So he kind of instilled in me that about the culture, be about the people. And honestly, when I went to that game for the first time, it's like that's when I truly fell in love and felt that I was going to be a Seminole.
I always tell people one of the biggest recruiting tools that we have especially in the state of Florida, is alumni. I got a chance to know Corey Simon when I was in high school. I got a chance to know I got a chance to meet Brett. I got a chance to Jason Whitaker was a 2-time All-American, and he coached me my senior year in high school. It was just a bunch of Noles that a whole bunch of guys that I could just think about. Now when I go back and think about it, even though I like Miami as well, it was probably I was going to Florida State. All the people, Jesse Solomon from out of Madison County, all the people who were former Noles that kind of pushed me in that direction. So but that was cool. So you played flag, you didn't play tackle, which was kind of ironic because that's something that a lot of people like. I guess it stopped really about 2000s, like 2000, maybe when we came out. Now everybody's playing tackle football earlier. They have there's these no weight leagues now, so I couldn't even play tackle football if I wanted to. So but I didn't. My first tackle game wasn't until again I didn't play until I was in 9th grade either. But you go there in 9th grade. Did you play? You said you played varsity. So were you like a backup quarterback or were you the starting quarterback?
So I was a backup quarterback. I actually wound up starting at safety. But yeah, kind of touch on what you said. It was a weight problem. I was in the 7th grade, but I was already over 145 or 150 pounds. And it's not like I was fat or anything, but it's just how it was structured that you had a certain weight limit. And you're right, like now they don't have that. I mean, my son, he's 10 years old. He's on the lighter side, but he wants to play tackle and he actually could. But I mean, there's kids that are 11 years old that are 110, 120 pounds. It's like, damn, do I want to get my son in the same arena getting hit by those kids or not? So, but yeah, going back to my freshman year, I started as a safety, as a true freshman. I guess not a true freshman, as just a freshman coming in. And then midway through that season, I wound up breaking my thumb, which honestly was probably one of the better things that happened to me because I found out then, hey, I'm not a hitter. I'm more of a lover, not a fighter. But that actually made me focus more on being a QB, not really focusing on defense. So just by chance, again, that, hey, I always, grew up wanting to be a quarterback. So when I became a freshman in high school, I got moved to safety. I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be my path all throughout high school. I wound up breaking my thumb sitting out, and then I refocused on being QB. So when that opportunity of me coming around my sophomore year, I really took QB, being how I'm going to get to the next level, and honestly, how I'm going to get out of my situation as a kid.
So that would have been, so you would have been a freshman, the 01, 02?
I think 2000, 2001. So my graduating class is 04.
Right.
Yeah. So I came into high school in 2000.
Okay, so then you start as a sophomore, you have success, or you're balling, or like obviously you threw the ball hard as hell. So I'm assuming the ball was kind of going fast. On a high school level, did you have cats that could actually catch that thing?
I'm gonna tell you what, like all of my receivers did not play at the next level. None. Actually, I take that back. One, Eric Weems. He actually went on to play at Bethune-Cookman. He actually played for the Falcons for a little while. But all of my receivers were probably about 5'5" to 5'8" white kids. No offense, but we're all beach boys. Like I grew up in Daytona Beach, like literally on the beach. So we're just beach boys that we love to play together. So yeah, I threw the ball hard, but every single one of them could catch. Every single one. So we would go in passing tournaments, 7-on-7. Well, yeah, it was 7-on-7 like in high school. So it was like when high schools played high school. So we'd go up to Hoover, we'd go up to Valdosta State, and we just run the table. I mean, it was me and my brother. Obviously, we're big boys. And then you see like my receivers are all about, I would say the tallest one. Tallest was probably about 5'10", but they all ran good routes. We all had good chemistry, and they could all catch. And if you didn't catch the ball, I was going to get pissed. So my balls are accurate, and I mean, they had the heart to go up and catch it. So yeah, all my receivers are not big guys. They were just kids that I played with my whole life. They knew how I threw. They knew the ball was coming out hot. You better catch it or it's going to have your head. So that's kind of what it was.
So you go in. What year did you win Mr. Football?
I won it actually junior and senior year, but okay. I tied my junior year to a guy. I can't remember that kid's name, but I did win it my senior year kind of outright.
Okay. So heavy accolades, throwing to guys who were selling insurance and just hanging out, having a good time frat boys. Nothing wrong with that. It happens. You go and all of a sudden recruiting happened. When did you get your first letter?
Oh, it's funny. I was telling my wife this the other day. My first official offer was from University of Indiana. And when I got that paper, I opened it up and my head coach is right there. I'm like, Coach, I got my first offer. I'm going to Indiana right now. Let me go. And he was like, Zay, shut your dumb ass up. You're going to get more offers. I'm like, Coach, this is the first one. I'm not getting another offer. He was like, X, be patient. More will come. So my very first scholarship from the University of Indiana. And I remember that coach coming to the school and, you know, he gave me the whole rundown of what they have. And honestly, I was sold right away. And that was my first scholarship was the University of Indiana. I would have, what are they, Hoosiers? Yeah. I thought about being a damn Hoosier.
I only knew about them in basketball. I check what people say. I didn't really ever truly look at a map until NCAA added recruiting. And ironically, you're saying, I used to say I want to go to Nebraska because Nebraska was like so really good. And then I had to push, you got to push that button to the left. And I realized how many lefts I had to push to get to Nebraska from Florida. I said, yeah, that's not happening. Indiana's up there, man. It's a little frigid. It's not the football part. It's really everything else outside of that. It's just the weather is just crazy. We're gonna get to you being in Nebraska, man. And I'm interested you showing up late to your wedding and how did you find such a woman to give you such grace, like to be able to do that. But we'll get to that in a second, man. So for those who are joining in right now, again, Xavier Lee, former I didn't even realize he was two-time Mr. Florida in the state of Florida, 5-star prospect, came to Florida State University. So when did you get your offer from FSU, and what was that like?
I'd say my first offer came, I think it was the beginning of my junior year. But at that time, I had already gotten an offer from Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, North Carolina, NC State, Syracuse, Auburn, Alabama. So at that point in time, it was like, okay, I was waiting on them to actually offer. Now I have that in my back pocket. So when I got that, it was probably my junior year. And I wouldn't say I clumped it together with the rest, but I was literally just kind of going off the map of, okay, who's going to offer me? Then I'm take a look at, like you said, look at the map and just try to see what would be the best fit for me. So I would say the beginning of my junior year, if not the end of my sophomore year, I got an official offer from Florida State.
So did that come from who was the one who obviously they said it, but who's the one who told you have your offer? Did the old man call you?
Nah, it was Billy Sexton.
Oh shit.
Billy Sexton. Billy Sexton was the one who gave me a call. He said, hey man, we got a full scholarship from you. Ready to come here? I'm like, whoa, Billy, pump the brakes a little bit. And I appreciate the offer, but so yeah, Billy Sexton was the person who had called me and told me, hey, we're gonna offer you a full scholarship to come to FSU.
All right. Did you ever go to the Bobby Bowden football camp?
I didn't.
Oh wow! So you got the offer with them without even having to camp with them. So how did you become so right now? The question that everybody has in general, because it's still a mystery to this day. It's not obviously has nothing to do with your talent. We can clearly see that. How did you get to the 5-star status? Did you go to a lot of their like the Nike camps or things of that nature, or was it actually more pure then when it was just purely off of your film?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I did go to a lot of those Nike camps. The first one I went to was when I was a sophomore, and that one was down at the University of Miami. So that was the first one I went to. I did well there. I killed it. Obviously, you playing with kids is a hell of a lot older than you. So I was, 14, 15 at that time. And 14 to 15, then playing with 18-year-olds, who's going to be seniors. I mean, there were some of the top talents that were there. Some of our kids that I played with. But yeah, that's how I really got noticed with some of those Nike camps and film. I don't know if you remember, but you remember the Sunshine Network?
Yeah.
Yes. So how they would show the highlights, they would show, some of the kids that did well, they show some of the stats, and they show kind of the league leaders. Well, consistently every week I led the state in passing. So each week they would actually give me a little note or hint of saying, hey, such and such is, leading the state in passing right now. 3A player of the week or the 4A player of the week. Well, I consistently was continuing to hit the 3A player of the week. That's how I continued to be noticed. And that was my sophomore year. And then, the Nike camps, one was at University of Miami, other one was at UF. But yeah, truly, I would say there's a lot of film, those camps. And realistically, back then, it wasn't social media, it was word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, hey, man, I heard a guy named, God dang, what was his name? Who's a DB that played at Palm Bay that was just insanely good? Reggie Nelson?
Yep.
Yeah, so I had no clue what he looked like, but I heard his name. Like, I would go down to Miami because my brother's family lived down in the Carol City area. So we go down there, we playing, pickup football or whatever, and we say we're from Daytona. But, oh, man, I heard this kid named Xavier Lee was really good. I don't know what he looks like, but I heard he's good. I'm like, shit, that's me. They're like, bullshit. And I started throwing, and they can kind of see it. But, like, this was the time that was before social media. So you really heard who people were about word of mouth. Like, that's how anything got around, was by someone talking about you. So really, my name being out there, going to the Nike camps, performing well on the field, performing well at those camps, going to those 7-on-7 tournaments and dominating. I think that was one of the things that I started getting on the list of some of the top quarterbacks in the nation.
Yeah, that's funny when you talk about just even the internet was still relatively new. I used to go and I had to go to the school computer lab. That was how I got a lot of my stuff on the internet in general. But I remember War Chant my senior year being relatively new. And okay, what's up? Shout out to our teammate here.
That Neefy. I still remember that video of him posting doing a backflip on the trampoline. That was just awful, man. I don't know what you were trying to do, but that was terrible, bro.
War Chant put that, and I had people call me. They were like, "Oh, you on the internet?" It was the first commit for 02. It was a guy named Rona Hawkins, who now he's gone, but he ended up not being able to come for some wild reasons. But me, Rona, Pat, a whole bunch of different people, who was the first commit for the class of 02. And they put our sizes on there. And they put that I was 6'4", 250 on the internet. So everybody's like, so I actually got some call. I'm like, I couldn't even lie to him. I said, man, I said, I'm right at 6. I'm right at 6 foot. I said, 6'4", 250. I said, hell no. I said, I wish I was 6'4", 250, but it was just amazing, like how things could be, like how stuff was back then. Because again, you can a lot more. Even Matt Myrod talked about it. A lot more lying happened back then than it did now. So
you can get away with it back then.
Yeah, but the Sunshine, man, you brought me back to the sun. Did you ever watch the replays of our games on Sundays?
It wasn't prime time. It was the Gridiron Report.
Yep, Gridiron Report. And then when Bobby and Gene would talk about the highlights from the game.
Yeah,
that used to be one of my favorite. Because Bobby did that right when we came back. So we get off the plane, we go home. Coaches go break down film. Bobby's going, no matter how late, Bobby's going right up into the lab with Gene, his old ass, and they're talking about the game and the breakdown, and him forgetting everybody's name, and Gene being there to bail him out. Like that's old boy right there. He's doing that. Yeah, that's James Coleman right there, coach. That's right, from Tallahassee, Florida.
He called me Xavier Smith one time. We'll get to that.
You said what?
Bobby Bowden called me Xavier Smith one time. We'll get to that later.
Man, boy, I had to forgive him one time. I was like, man, that man, you know how many black number 36s he's seen in his life?
Yep.
It's like we all gotta look the same at a certain point, man. But nah, man. But that's all that. But now you just brought us all back with the Sunshine. That's what they really got to bring something like that back.
Yeah.
It actually made a lot of stuff fun. They also had a Mr. Football used to do the Beef O'Brady's top 25. Like there was a lot more. I feel like there's a lot of high school coverage now, but not as good high school coverage.
Yeah.
And things like that. So you go in there, you're blowing up. What is the recruitment like of a 5-star prospect? Like what is it like going through all of that? Is it hectic? Then there wasn't no real cell phones back then. Is your phone, is your house line blowing up? What is that like?
So it was pretty crazy, man. Honestly, I used to get, letters just about every day from every school, just, kind of giving updates, University of Oregon's, just pretty much all over the country, just getting letters. So after I got that first offer from Indiana, all of them just started rolling in. And honestly, it was a pretty cool, it's a lot different now, I'm sure, but we'll get to that. But for me, it was just honestly cool to have an opportunity to leave where I began. Daytona's a beautiful city, but where I grew up and how I grew up wasn't the best of situations. So for me, anywhere I could go to try to get out of where I was a good thing, was a blessing. So the recruitment part for me was just, honestly, it was awesome. I took full advantage of it. Like we got, tickets, just about every week you get a ticket to go to a game. So I went up to Auburn, saw a game, UF, Miami, recruited by Syracuse. And no, I narrowed it down to Syracuse, Texas, Ohio State, and Florida State, and Auburn. So those are my top 5. And it all came down to different reasons as to why I liked them. But for me, the recruiting process was amazing that each one of those universities wanted to have a shot at you and put you as, honestly, realistically, a quarterback is damn near a CEO of a major corporation. FSU generates, X amount per home game or per game in general. So each one of those programs wanted you to be the face of their program. So for me, that was extremely humbling and exciting that I had an opportunity to go put my name out there, carry the Lee on my back and, put it across the country so that people could see. So the recruitment process was hectic. I used to blow my mom's phone up, and I didn't have a cell phone until I was a senior in high school. And at that point in time, like if you called me before 7:00, before the free nights and weekends kicked in, I was pissed. I wasn't going to answer. Like I didn't really know what the hell text messages were back then, but needless to say, anytime I got a call before 7:00, I wasn't very happy. But, coaches will pop up at the school. Some showed up at the house. Some showed up at my mom's job. I'm pretty sure it's more hectic now, but that's how the recruiting process was. It was wild, and I enjoyed every bit of
it. And media was still kind of not like it is. Like now, these kids, like I have to talk to my guys a lot. The media, I told them it was weird then, but it's weirder now. More so because they call them and don't even. Like I had a reporter call one of my guys yesterday while he was in class. Like didn't even think, like, why would you call a kid at 12:00 in the afternoon? Like they have school. So it's just thinking of stuff like that. We do have one question right here that's kind of going through this. We could jump around a little bit. My guy Chris with Sporadics Media, if you ever want to see another really good just FSU centric network. Does a lot of good stuff. What was the biggest thing going from high school to FSU that was the hardest transition? Like, what was the hardest transition?
It was 2 things for me. It was honestly being away from home. And I say that because twofold. My mom, she was very strict. So didn't really hang out a bunch, didn't drink anything like that in high school. I hung out with the same group for the most part, didn't really stay out extremely late. But for me, being able to honestly be an adult, like getting dropped off and like not having to check in on my mom or anything like that was the biggest transition for me, because I went from kind of being cooped up to pretty much an adult. You got to like manage your own schedule. You got to be at a certain time. No one's really going to hold your hand, which eventually they did because I hated going to class, but no one's really going to hold your hand and hold you accountable. You had to do that for yourself. For me, going from honestly, truly from childhood to being an adult, from being cooped up with your parents till being on the campus by yourself and just having your teammates around you. So that living situation was hard for me. I wouldn't say hard, it was just a transition. And on the field, I would say legitimately the speed. I thought I was fast. I ran a 4.6, 4.5 coming out of high school. Like I remember like break and run against, scout team and Jerome. Goddamn, what was Jerome Carter? Like I broke out and was running. I'm like, all right, I'm 10 yards down the field. I just felt like a little pat in my ass. I'm like, bro, where'd you come from? But it was like the speed was different. And I remember like I was cover 2, staring down the middle of the field. I see Chris Davis running a go route on the side. So I kind of hang this ball, a little bit, just trying to hit it in that hole. Guess who came and picked it out of nowhere? Take a guess.
Say Hall? Or Jason? You said Pat.
Pat. Out of nowhere, goddamn long legs came and picked it off. So for me, it was going from being a child to an adult. And realistically, that first month or so, trying to get used to that speed, because it was totally different. The game happens so much faster. The athletes are so much faster. the way the game was sped up, the play calls a hell of a lot longer. Like what you had to check off from the line of scrimmage when he broke the huddle was totally different than what I was used to in high school. I mean, when I got to high school, I knew the play like the back of my hand. I would line up, I see 3 high, 2 high, potential man, see what blitzes, see who I had to protect, and I was good to go. Coming to college, the play was a little different. They could rotate. They could play cover 2 high, 2 deep man, single high, rover, lurking in the middle, blitz, 7-man blitz, drop the wheel, like twist, stunts. Like that wasn't really big in high school when I came out. So for me, getting an understanding of the speed and understanding how the defense worked, and also becoming, pretty much from a child to a man right off the bat.
Also, just it was harder. I told people I learned how to watch film in college.
Yeah.
Mainly because we didn't have cut-ups like that. Like when I first went with the XO, I forgot the name of the program, but basically we can go in and every play was there and itemized. So it's easier to watch, easier to repeat. In high school, you got the VCR, and if you're lucky, you got the VCR with a little turner that you can you can be a little bit more precise. So like now it's, they have kids have huddle. They have some different things, and more people are there to teach you how to watch film. So you're like just the amount of information that these other guys who have been in the program for a few years have just playing football, the IQs are a little bit higher. Also, you guys they eliminated freshman two-a-days after my freshman year. So like we at least got a week just with the coaches before camp. So like we got a chance to kind of have an idea of what the pace was and stuff. But you're completely right. Like that, especially Pat. Pat was different. I said Pat was a guy that could take 2 steps and cover the field. Pat, Crow.
Yep.
There were some genuine freaks that you weren't going to see every day. Ernie at linebacker.
McFadden.
B-Mac, which I tell people, B-Mac was just such a technician that it just was tough. Leroy was pretty. It's just some guys over there that just were amazing. On top of the D lineman that you have to face. I'm pretty sure you didn't go up against because you weren't there with Doc, but you had Trap J, Bump, Cam. I'm trying to think who the other Chauncey Davis.
Yeah.
You didn't have 4 guys like that you saw your senior year in high school.
No.
I'm just betting.
No.
So that was actually a very interesting question by Chris. But going back to your recruitment, everybody that I talked to, obviously we have the story where the closer has to come in. So did Bobby come to the house on a home visit?
Yeah, so he came to see my brother first when I was a junior.
Okay.
So he was recruiting my brother, and he was a year ahead of me, so he was a senior. So Bobby came to visit my brother, and he came to the house, and we lived in a cul-de-sac that, typical hood, and, everyone was like literally lined up. It's like watching Bobby come down the street. He came in, talking to my brother, and he was like peeking down the hallway, like looking at me. Then like the next year, the first day that coaches could physically go see a player, I was the first person he came to see. So he came to my house, him and Coach Sexton. As soon as he walked in the door, said, "Hey, Miss, hey Gloria, how's it going? So and so." And he looked at me and said, "Now, Xavier, today is the first day we can go visit our players. The first person I came to see, you. I'll catch you later." That's all he needed to say. My mom was sold. He said that, and he walked out.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Damn, I wonder if. So now I'm sitting here wondering. Mike Norvell literally just used that on my quarterback. Literally just used that a couple weeks ago. The first day, he's like the first thing after he saw. So what was wild is Mike signs the new deal, right?
Yeah.
10 minutes later, he's at the high school that I coach at, talking to our quarterback saying, and then our other wide receiver was committed to Alabama at that point. So he looks at the quarterback and says, "Now, just so you know, this is the first day that we can come recruiting, and you're the first person that I'm coming to see." He's like, and then he looked at Jamie and said, "I wouldn't tell you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself," which he just turned down Alabama.
Yeah.
Telling him, I'm not going to tell you to turn down Alabama if I can't turn down Alabama.
Yeah.
So, but that's cool. I got that's cool to have. I guess if having seen Bobby multiple times, he probably felt like, you know what, I ain't got to be here that much longer. I just need to let you know that you're important. And he had a way of making sure that you knew that he knew who you were, or your worth, which was ironic because as many people as he's seen and coached in that nature. So you get to Florida State, you're highly regarded. How did they work that angle where they brought in two quarterbacks? And how did you feel about that? Because obviously they brought you in and they brought in Drew in the same class. So what were the conversations? Because obviously only one of you can play. There's only the difference between wide receiver. Multiple wide receivers can start, and the reality is multiple wide receivers play in the game. Only one quarterback is more than likely going to start. So what was that conversation like? And then what was your mindset still staying committed towards it?
To me, honestly, I didn't care too much about it. I kind of knew the reason why you offer two quarterbacks just in case. You figure one's going to go somewhere else. You got to have a fail safe. So them having two QBs to commit, hindsight, I probably should have went in a different direction. No offense to FSU, but I think realistically, how I played the game was more in line with some of the two other universities that I almost went, which was Auburn and Texas. Now, my true freshman year, if I would have went to Texas, would have been the year they played USC. So Vince Young would have left. It would have been a very similar playing style following. Same with Auburn. Auburn had Jason Campbell. They had a hell of a year, went undefeated, should have been national champions, whatever. Either way, it was a very similar quarterback style that would have just left, that I would have filled that role. That would have been a perfect transition. Going to Florida State, I was like, all right, everyone knew who Charlie Ward was. Everyone wanted to be that and idolize that. So when I made that commitment to go to FSU, I was like, all right, I understand that, this current offense doesn't fit how I play, but I'm under the impression that eventually they'll change that around and try to build around a quarterback that can make it work. So when we both came in, I truly was not worried whatsoever. I understood the game that, hey, they offered two quarterbacks and hoping they'd at least get one. Well, they got two. So for me going in, that wasn't a problem at all.
Okay.
Until it was a problem.
So you come in, what was we talked about a little bit about obviously the speed with the question that Chris had. What was your welcome to Florida State moment like? Like, oh my God, this might be a little different than what I'm used to dealing with. What was that moment for you?
I'm trying to think here. Realistically, I think it was like one of the first 2-a-day practices. When I knew I was playing with grown men is like when a fight broke out in 2-a-days. Like that shit is probably the scariest thing you'd ever see if you were not used to it. And I had never seen it before. And like to see, honestly, our D tackles and our DNs going at the offensive linemen, holy shit. Like for me, that was like, okay, now I'm playing with grown men. And I think that was like my welcome. Damn, I'm getting like the chills thinking about it. That was like my welcome to college football. Like, hey, you're not a kid anymore in high school. Like you're playing with grown men, like seeing those boys like legitimately like throw hands. And then the worst part is you get in trouble for throwing hands and you got to do more damn exercise or whatever you want to call it because for punishment. But yeah, that was my moment of like, damn, this isn't like anything I've ever seen. So for me, that was my come to Jesus or come to, realization that, hey, I'm not in the little leagues anymore.
Definitely. I laugh with people who've never been in those brawls. They're like, why would you swing and hit somebody's helmet? Like, it's not going to make it. I said, nah, it's a way you can. It's a way you can hit somebody in the helmet to make sure that they feel it, man. I was like, you just don't know how to do it. But it's definitely one of those moments where you see, like, again, you didn't get a chance to see Dockett and somebody on the line would get in a fight every day my first couple of years. And it was crazy because it'll be violent and then it wouldn't be. Yeah. And it'll be back to normal.
You get that frustration out and you reload and keep going.
Which is wild because you see Odell getting into the middle of those things. And I it's crazy to remember Odell thinking he was old then. And then like he's still coaching. And I'm like, I thought you were old, but like you really old now. And you still out there mixing and matching it with those guys. Going back, recruiting visits. We talked a little bit with Lorenzo about it. Don't want to get you in trouble because obviously we have people, don't want you to get too in depth. But what was your recruiting visits like? Did you have a good time? We have video, and one day I'm going to post it on Lorenzo where I could tell Lorenzo, like, because one of my friends, T.O., hosted them, and there's video of Lorenzo basically saying that the women in Florida State are the most beautiful. I'm coming to Florida State because this is where the fine spots are. But like, did you have those moments, or what was it like on your visit, and what were they telling?
My visits, it was pretty cool. I think, Syracuse, I remember my visit was scheduled to go there, and they said we had to postpone it. And I'm like, well, why? It's like, well, we just had a blizzard, so the airports are closed. I'm like, all right, coach, you've said enough that I'm not going to go to Syracuse. I have no clue in what the fuck a blizzard is. So I'm going to swing wide on going to Syracuse. So my visit to Ohio State, realistically, was like the first time I ever seen snow. So when I got there, they gave me like this big old coat, and I'm like walking around. And I'm like literally standing outside the airport at the sky because I'm seeing snow for the first time. It wasn't like a blizzard, but it was just snow. So they rolled out the red carpet. I mean, they took me to strip clubs. They gave me a pocket full of money. I went to parties. Hey, I didn't get too crass about strip clubs. I wasn't a fan of that at all. But going to some of the house parties was kind of cool as well. Went to Texas. Texas was just different, man. I honestly, truly loved Texas. It was a good vibe, great people. And honestly, if you're a QB at Texas, like Texas is massive. So, it's a huge different kind of following than as opposed to what it was to, an Auburn type of a deal. But when I went to Texas, I mean, they rolled out the red carpet. I was staying in a suite. I could order room service as much as I wanted. And for me, like, I was ordering a bunch of food. And honestly, I took some to-go plates in my bag after my visit. Not gonna lie. And then when I visited Auburn, they actually came to Daytona. They put me up in a private jet. So I remember going to the local Daytona Beach airport. I'm like sitting there with my ticket. And I'm like, what time's the plane leave? It was like, whenever you wanted to. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you see that plane out there, and it had like the symbol of the AU on it. That's our plane. So whenever you're ready to leave, we're ready to leave with you. So I literally just stood there for about 5 minutes, kind of looked around, like, all right, we can go now. Got on a plane, had Dr. Pepper, Skittles, M&Ms. Like, I was all about that. So that part of my trip was awesome. But when I finally got to Auburn and I saw where the players lived, man, it was like a third world country. And It amazed me that they would fly me on a private jet, take me all these restaurants, and then have their players live in the freaking hovels. Because it was, as you know, Doak, the Burt wasn't much better, but like this was like bad. So that was like one of the reasons why I didn't even consider Auburn, because that living situation was just terrible. But when I came to FSU, I don't know if you remember this place. The place that we went, it was actually on my birthday that I went there. It was a Silver Slipper.
Oh, yeah. We used to go. We wanted steak and lobster. So they had to pay for anybody who showed up.
Yes, that's why you should love being a recruiter, like the person that recruits out. But no, I went to the Silver Slipper, man. I had 2 lobster tails. I had a steak. It was a fillet. It was a fillet that I cooked well done because I didn't know how to eat a damn steak at that point. So I had a fillet, 2 big old lobster tails, and they brought a big old chocolate cake out with me, saying happy birthday. My mom was there. My grandma was there. So like that part was insane because our bill wound up being around $16,000. So I don't know if you remember him, but Willie Williams was on that visit with me.
Mm-hmm.
It was Willie Williams. Xavier Carter was there with me. So Willie Williams, he was a little different. So he took full advantage of them having the open credit card. So that was probably the wildest thing is A, getting put up on a private jet, B, at FSU, having a meal that was almost $15,000, having several steaks, lobster tails, and, my mom and grandma enjoying it as well. So my recruiting, I probably could have took more advantage of it. I do believe, there's a lot of beautiful women out there, but honestly, I was just so hell-bent on getting out of my situation that girls was, secondary to me at that point in time.
Now, that's dope, man. You brought back memories. Silver Slipper's not even a thing anymore.
I know. It's funny. When I went there, I guess it was a while ago now. I was trying to find it. They don't have it anymore. So the next nicest place is Eluso. So anytime I go back to Tally, I try to go to that spot, Eluso. It's kind of downtown. They got this steak called the Steak Denver. That's really good. But yeah, Eluso, not Eluso, Silver Slipper, that was a place, man. That's why they took players on their visits, wine and dining.
Yeah, man. So coming back to, obviously 2 days, obviously the different things like that, the competitions, Well, fast forward to 05. Everybody's pretty much thinking that Wyatt Sexton will probably more than likely be the guy going into that season. Wyatt has his literal come to Jesus moment, so we won't go into that too much. Then it's basically you and Drew competing for that. All I know is the outside of what happened. Like, I don't really know. I just know Drew was the starter. What is what kind of went through that in your opinion? And I mean, obviously, what you choose to go into. I know we've talked a little bit offline some years ago just about your whole mentality on the stuff, and I was just like, damn, that's really dope. That, you know, looking back on stuff. But what's the kind of what happened with all of those things? And I want to also preface this. I ain't gonna hold you on this. We were not coached by an offensive guru. So, and I don't think you had a quarterback savant coach as well. I still remember listening to some of the drills like inside, outside, back. I just remember that being something that Daryl Dickey used to say a lot. And I know Jeff Bowden put us in some very he's a great man. Jeff is a good guy. I just don't think he was a great offensive coordinator.
Yeah. So coming out of spring, that all happened with Wyatt. I remember that being over the summer. And actually, it's funny. I remember getting interviewed of saying, hey, you know, why isn't, what are your thoughts on Wyatt not being at practice? I'm like, man, well, he needs to be here because the team's depending on him. You know, I don't think it's good that he's not here. He's missing practices, whatever. And I got a slap on the wrist because I didn't know something was medically going wrong. Fast forward, though, that whole summer, man, I dedicated everything. I was in film throwing absolutely every day. So when two-a-days came around, I was killing it. Like, it wasn't even close of a comparison between Drew and I because I was so prepared. I was focused. Everything was going perfect, man. Every scrimmage, I killed it. Every, team, I killed it. And what had happened was, which I hate using that fucking phrase, but what happened was we had obviously been throwing a bunch over the two-a-days. And then we wanted to do some extra throwing right after practice to the tight ends. And this was like right before they were going to name who the starter was. The next day, we had an actual scrimmage. And that practice, after practice, I threw one more ball and my shoulder popped. Torn labrum, torn rotator cuff. So before they're going to name me the starter, which it wasn't even fucking close at that point in time, I tore my shoulder up. The next day, I ice it like crazy. I go to throw. I can't even lift up my arm. Honestly, I'm getting kind of choked up thinking about it because I always think if I didn't make that extra throw at the practice, like what would have or possibly could have happened. Maybe my shoulder would tore up later on down the road. But for that moment in time, like I had dedicated everything. I was beyond killing it. And it all got taken away from one throw and my shoulder popping. Damn, I was ripped.
Yeah.
Gold chains.
When you said that, I was sitting here thinking, like, I think I got a picture from us in conditioning that year.
God dang. Look at BJ Dean.
You got Donnie Carter right there.
Yeah, DC.
You got BJ, and then you got me with no hair.
Man. Like young bull, man. Like I was hell-bent focused, like nothing else mattered that whole summer and that whole two-a-days. Like I dedicated everything. And it all came to a head from actually it was after practice and I was throwing it to Donnie Carter and I want to say it was Henny, and it just popped. And I remember talking to the coach afterwards. I'm like, man, something doesn't feel right. He's like, oh, just ice it down and, maybe just tweak something. And then next day I went to throw. I couldn't throw. I tried to push through and throw again. I couldn't throw. And just so happened like that scrimmage, it's like Drew got all the reps and he did well, man. He killed it. And it was like some scout team stuff, but he did well. Like he dominated the scrimmage and I couldn't perform. So I went to Dr. Jordan, got a shot, my cortisone shot in my shoulder. Still, I was out for 3 days trying to recover from that cortisone shot before I can actually. 5 days of two-a-days that had gone by. And at that point, Drew had solidified himself because there was no true competition of being a starter. So I know behind the scenes, you never know what's really going on, but that's legitimately how it all happened. That I did not earn my positions because I got hurt. I hate to ever make excuses because that's not how I want to live. That's not how I live my life now. It's making an excuse. But needless to say, if I did not tear my shoulder up in that practice, the future may have been different.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And having torn the labrum and had that, it was. I remember when I had my MRI my sophomore year, and they knew I tore my labrum middle of the season, and Randy said, "Well, if he was a quarterback, it'd be bad news, but he hits people, so like it doesn't matter." So like it's so I could definitely understand how that the pain that comes with that. I remember times when I could not even raise my right arm because it hurt. So it was really messed up. So I appreciate that transparency. Had no clue that even happened. And then
crazy? I played that whole season with that torn labrum, and I kept getting cortisone shots. So that whole redshirt freshman season, anytime I played, I was legitimately in pain. But I literally played that whole season with a jacked up shoulder. Ugh. And the shots did not wear off until the Orange Bowl, and we played Penn State. Mm-hmm. So we're throwing again, and it went out again, and that's why I didn't play in the Orange Bowl. Obviously, we was going back and forth. I think it was just a great game, regardless of who was under the center. But I didn't get a shot to play because my shoulder was jacked up.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest.
The entire season, I got a chance to play. As you know, when you're trying to force it, when you're trying to make a play, when you're trying to be that guy, when you're you make a mistake, you're in. You make a mistake, you're out. Like I played aggressive as hell because I knew this may be my only chance I get a snap. All right, damn, I did good. Damn, I did the bad. Again, get in, have a good series, have a bad series, get pulled. So when you're second string, you get that opportunity, like that magnitude of that pressure is a hell of a lot stronger than being like a true called out starter, because when you're a true starter, you have the ability to make a mistake. When you're a second string guy and that starter is, can still go, you're on a short leash.
I definitely understand that. Battling a guy my whole career that's the same classification. Definitely understand that, man. I appreciate that transparency. Again, that's why I like doing these, because we all lived the same situation, but there's always different stories and there's other things that you never knew about. So like that makes sense. Like just like with that Penn State game, I can promise you, dog, most of us seniors was checked out after the first going into overtime. I was mad as hell. I was ready to sign with because we talked about Silver Slipper, right?
Yeah.
So I knew who my agent was going to be. We had plans to go get a really good steak from a really good restaurant. That game wasn't over till like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Late. It's funny. I was so pissed. I walked off the field. I came back on because I thought the game was over myself. Like I thought it was over, but it kept going. Was it 3 overtimes?
Yeah, I was sitting there like, man, I don't give a damn who wins at this point. I'm done. I said, I'm not coming back. So this is my last year. So it's just funny, man. It was a very physical game. That I got fucked up going into halftime. Actually, probably they didn't count it as a tackle for loss. I got a safety. That was a safety. Penn State, Miami fans talk about the Jordan Travis thing. Nah, bitch, no. I legitimately was tackled in the end zone, and I don't know why they gave me forward momentum. But the funniest thing about it, if you go back, and actually my I was talking about this game with my boy's mother, and when we were dating, and she was like, "Have you ever been laid out?" I said, "Yeah, man. It was one of my last plays." I was like, I got fucked up by Penn State. And I said, it was 34 belly. Jeff was trying to run the clock out. And they did a stunt. And for a brief second, the A-gap was just like this wide. And there was nobody there. I was just like, you know what? I'm about to try to run. I'm going to pretend like my name is Crefonzo Thorpe. I'm not even finna run to get yardage. I'm about to score. And man, so I get up right, pick my knees up, and then I see somebody coming across, and I say, shit. And bam, I got smacked right there. And, I fought, but I was tackling in the end zone. Like I was literally, that was a safety. But at that point, messed my knee up. I was like, man, fuck this game. Like, get me out of here, man. So, but I definitely didn't know about the shoulder, man. So, like, did you ever you had to have surgery on it, I'm assuming?
Yeah. So after that bowl game, 2 weeks later, actually it was right before my birthday in January. My birthday is January 9th. I got surgery. And it's funny, I tried to drive myself home, but yeah, I got surgery. It took a few hours. I still got the damn porthole. They just did a scope in it. Yeah, I got cleaned up, and I couldn't throw a ball until April. So from January to March, April is when I was truly down again. And again, that rolls into the next year, my redshirt sophomore year of already behind the 8 ball. So, I mean, yeah, my QB career at FSU was up and down for a multitude of different reasons. Me trying too hard to make a play. Honestly, me not going to class like I should have, and probably should have took education a little bit more serious. But at that time, you know, all that mattered to me was football. And then the way when that got taken away, as far as not being able to start, as far as not being able to play as much as I wanted to, I didn't know how to kind of take that. So like my outlet was like going out and hanging out. I didn't really drink or smoke any bullshit like that, but like I didn't want to be home. Like I just wanted to be out around people, because my joy and my goal in life was in a way kind of taken away, and I only had like bits and pieces of it. So honestly, I think I haven't told my wife knows this, but like I've had, you know, mental issues, not so much from like that, from certain things, but like traumatic mental issues from that specific incident of literally pouring your everything into something and getting snatched away. And it's hard to try to fill that gap. So I've done my own, you know, levels of depression. After that, I've done my own levels of, you know, low places and high places. And, you know, at point in time, like I wasn't a good person because of how that impacted me. And honestly, it impacted me for years on in until realistically about 5-10 years ago. Like it still bothered me. And then I finally let it go, that it wasn't Jeff Bowden's fault. It wasn't Jimbo Fisher's fault. It wasn't Bobby Bowden's fault. You know, it's honestly how life is. Like some cards go your way, some cards don't. And you're going to go through adversity. And how do you get through that? So being a kid, not really knowing how to get through that adversity, I struggled. I didn't handle it the right way. But now I've matured as an adult, I can look back and apologize to those people, or apologize to myself that, hey, I was a kid, shit happens. And I honestly let those coaches off the hook as well. Like, you know, they were doing what was best for them. They were doing as best they could. So for me, that was my biggest takeaway of not being a starter, going back and forth, battling that through college, you know, competing every day, shit going good, shit going bad. But honestly, it made me a better person. Took a while to get there, but it made me a good person.
I mean, that's definitely very, very real. Again, also, I think a lot of people don't realize what you brought up is that was a real comment as a man. You're grown now. Like if you're I think Muhammad Ali said, if I'm at 50, if I'm the same person that I was in my 20s, then I've wasted 3 decades of my life not grown. So, you know, obviously, you know, different life experiences and different things have happened that can make you obviously reevaluate and do those things. And I think one of the things that don't get talked about enough, which I think podcasts like Pivot, podcasts like I Am Athlete, I think those are some of the realest podcasts that are out there, because it's like men talking, men who've been through different experiences. And especially with you being such a highly valued prospect, having these expectations because of how hard you work, you should have those are realistic expectations going into a field in of itself that's unrealistic. You feel me? Like, so I joke with people, say like, it's easier for your mother to have won the lottery than for you to be at Florida State, playing Power 5. 2% of all athletes that play football make it to college. Like, not FBS, just the numbers. It's a numbers game. And then of that, very fewer, of that 2%, I believe it's 1% get an opportunity to go to the NFL. Yeah. So like, but in order to make it, you can't be like, oh, well, only 2% make it, so I'm probably not going to make it. Mentally, we have to be in a different space. We have to be in a different place. So like, even we all deal with it. Hell, I couldn't even look at football for 2 years after I was done.
Same.
And I didn't want to be around it. And actually, the only thing that got me out of it was coaching and listening to the purity of it, like young, because while we will talk about this stuff and it's fun, right? It's a job.
Yeah.
Like it was hard to do that. So I can 100% understand, especially just the normal dedication. But when you take it up a notch and then you get a serious injury, it definitely. So we all go. I mean, not to belittle anything, but like just letting you know, like I've been there before. And there were times when I was just, you smile, you do everything else, and everybody sees this one thing, man. When you go home, you in that dark room, you like here, you like, and then let alone the things that the carryover from some of the injuries. So like I play with a broken hand. My hand, when it gets cold, my hand aches. My shoulder bothers me. I have neck issues. I probably have I joke about the CTE thing. I've had concussions that I don't like. That I know I'll probably pay for some years down the road. But again, you have to realize that sometimes it's just the way the cards go. But I encourage every athlete now. I'm like, not just us, but like even the kids going through it, because now they have so much exposure. Like these jits are getting the level of exposure that NFL players used to get.
Yeah.
At 16, 17. I tell them, you gotta get a shrink. And not even because there's something wrong with you, it's just to help you learn how to, or somebody that can help you learn how to keep everything in perspective. And I think some of us are lucky to have people come in our lives that can pull us out of it. Some people aren't, but that's real stuff. But you brought up a guy in here that a lot of FSU fans kind of, I think we're forgiving him now because he fell on his face and we're back. But Jimbo Fisher did bring us to a situation where he won us a national championship and did some things. But you got Jimbo early on. What was Jimbo like, and what were the differences between JB and Jimbo? In your opinion?
Oh man, Jimbo's an asshole. Bro, he and now like oral of goddamn water. Like he was a straight asshole, but he was like our asshole. So it was
fair.
My thing is like he was a good coach, but it was hard for me to transition going from a laid back JB to in your face, what the fuck are you doing? Why type of a coach from Jimbo. So when you made a mistake, Jimbo was on your ass, but JB was a little bit more forgiving. So from going to, 3 years of kind of a laid back, mediocre type of coaching to going to that next level of high level coaching, it took a moment for me to transition. And I think it's another one of those things that Jimbo saw a lot of potential in me, but at the same time, I did not live up to my expectations. And I still had to battle that. So when I finally got the nod to play, and I don't think a lot of people know this, maybe some do, like one of my standout games was against Alabama.
Oh, trust me. Everybody knows the Alabama game. We're going to talk about that.
But no. I'm just saying, like, that was the first time I had took a snap all year was in that game.
Oh, wow.
That was the fourth game of the season, and I had not taken a snap all season. That game was the first time I had taken a snap. But I had earned Jimbo's respect up until that point. I had earned his respect to give me the reins to be the QB. So he was an asshole. He and I, duked it out quite a bit behind the scenes. But I think he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And like looking back, I have a whole different perspective of it than I did then. So that's my take on Jimbo.
No, I get it. I like the answer that you said. Like he was an asshole, but he was our asshole. And that's my relationship with Billy, with Sexton.
Yeah.
And Billy was very much so a dick, like with the first especially my first 2 years. But once you earn the respect, then it's a completely different relationship that comes into it, and it's more so things that you can laugh about. But you dropped something on us that a lot of us did not know about the Alabama game. Like you have something. Do you realize you have something that very few people can say that they have done, and that's a victory over Nick Saban? Like Nick Saban didn't lose very much, but especially Alabama's Nick Saban at that.
Yeah.
So, but talk to us about that game. What was the energy like? Because if I remember correctly, did you start that game or did Drew start it and went down and then you had to go in?
Yeah. So We played them. It was supposed to be a primetime game, but it got moved up because Bama had lost to someone the week before. Either way, we had a bye week before that game. So we had a whole week to kind of prepare for Nick Saban. And obviously Jimbo coaching with Saban, he knew exactly what he was going to do. So that week we were beyond prepared of, third down and going to try to bring the house. Like they're going to have these two safeties sitting here. We knew one of their top cornerbacks was hurt, so we knew to go after him. And I'm going to get to him in a moment. But that whole week we were really preparing, and Jimbo really knew him well. And I think that whole week of that bye week of us having practice, I legitimately truly earned the respect from Jimbo to actually be able to play. Now, he didn't start me beginning of that game because he knew that if he did, it would probably be a little bit of an uproar. Not new, it could be an uproar. Game starts, Drew's struggling. I mean, we didn't get any points or barely moving the ball. And they put Devontae Richardson in to try to run some of these, trick QB run plays to try to catch him off guard. And I'm sitting back in my head, I'm thinking this is bullshit. A, I know I can throw just as good, if not better than Drew. B, I know I can run better than Devontae. So why the hell am I not getting a nod? So midway through the second quarter, he finally turns to me and say, X, go in. So first play was a little bubble screen left to Preston Parker. And we started getting the momentum, then things just started to go. But honestly, that game was a little bit of a blur. But it was the build up to it as far as with Jimbo going against Saban, FSU playing Alabama, being in Jacksonville, being semi-prime time. It was amazing. And to get that now in the second quarter, then obviously going to win was just huge for me. But the preparation into that game of me earning Jimbo's respect is what made it that much better. And a lot of people weren't in the locker room afterwards, obviously, but Jimbo, he pulled me up close and, man, I am so proud of you. You did me proud. You did exactly what I knew you could do. And yeah, that game was awesome. And that one touchdown to Cody Fagg at 70 yards, well, that was against that cornerback that was second string. So I knew he was going to be over there. So I threw that hitch route to Cody Fagg, got a little stiff arm, and the rest is history. But yeah, that game was awesome, just as much as everyone else remembers it. Hell, I remember it day in and day out. And I always tell my son, hey, man, look, I beat Coach Saban. And I show him my grainy-ass film. He's like, man, what the hell is this? But, whatever, kid. But, yeah, that's how the build-up to that game was, and that's how it ended. And after that game, it was literally more of the same for me. It's up and down, up and down. Then I get benched. Then I say, fuck it, I'm going to NFL.
Yeah. Again, that's still a great moment. My son does that shit to me. My oldest son, that shit annoys the hell out of me. He's like, Dad, he's like, he acts like there was slavery and then we were free and then I played football. And I'm like, dude, it didn't really work like that. But I get it because I was watching one of our games and I'm like, that's how the game used to look to me when I would watch the NFL films from the Technicolor days. And I'm like, it just means technology's gotten so much better. So talk to us about the ups and downs. Did they eventually shift you from quarterback to tight end? Did that happen at Florida State, or was that more so when you were getting ready for the league?
Yeah, they tried to. So we beat Alabama. That game was awesome. We come back and we play NC State, and that was a rain game, so it kept getting delayed, restarted. Either way, we wound up winning that game. And we played Wake Forest that next week on a Thursday. Well, I wound up missing one of the practices early in that week because I was trying to work with one of my teachers on one of my grades. So I was meeting with my teacher trying to get a better grade, trying to do some extra work. Well, this wasn't related to the coaches, so they thought I skipped practice. And it came out that Xavier Lee's suspended indefinitely for the game. That wasn't the case. I talked to Jimbo, kind of explained everything. He understood what was going on. And so going into the game, he was kind of caught. Should I start him or should I not? So that game was up and down again. We started out red hot, up 14-0, was going to go up 21-0. Then I threw a pick in the end zone to Greg Carr. But then again, that game's up and down. Then we go to play Miami. Miami game was up and down. I mean, I think that was the most turnovers between two teams ever was between that game. I think I threw 3 picks. There were several fumbles. It was just up and down, just a rough game. And realistically, that was my last game I ever played was against UM. And the last play I ever did was a dirt ball. It was 4th down and 6, and I went to throw the hitch route, and I threw it right into the ground. At that point, realistically, the pressure of that game damn near paralyzed me. So I know I always see it on film, like kids like choke up, but I can really relate. It's like, hell, man, sometimes that pressure is just too damn intense, and you thrive or you crumble. And honestly, I didn't do too well and I crumbled. So the rest of the season, I got suspended for 2 games actually for not going to class. So we played Duke. I didn't start. I got suspended for the Boston College game, and I got suspended for the Virginia Tech game. For the Virginia Tech game, Drew got knocked the hell out by Cam Chancellor. And then that's when Christian Ponder came in, and Christian did fairly decent. We played another no-name team, and then we played Florida again, and I was scheduled to potentially play at Florida if we needed to. Drew wasn't doing well. Instead of me going in, he put Christian Ponder in. So at that point, it seemed like he was willing to die on the vine without me. Playing the bowl game, so on and so on. January rolls around. I have a talk with Jimbo, and he sits me down and says, listen, Xavier, we got E.J. Manuel come in. Christian Ponder did well, and Drew's been a starter off and on for the last 3 years. I'm going to put you at 4th string quarterback, or you're going to move the tight end. And I stared at him like, what? He said, yeah, listen, I don't think you can be a quarterback. I think you'll be a better tight end here. And if you want to stay a quarterback, you're going to be a tight end. I'm sorry, if you're going to stay a quarterback, you're going to be a 4th string behind E.J. Manuel, behind Christian Ponder, behind Drew Weatherford. So at that point, I'm like, all right, if you think I'm going to be a tight end, I've been quarterback my whole life, I'm leaving. So I declared for the draft the next day. So unfortunately, that's how my career at FSU ended, which was not on a good note. I didn't like how I was being pushed out by Jimbo. I can kind of see his point. Hindsight, looking back, maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong, but there was no way in hell I was going to move from FSU from being a QB to a tight end. That was not going to fly at all. Like that, I could not bring myself to just being a tight end at that point. Oddly enough, when I trained for the NFL, do the whole pro day thing, I kill it. What's teams saying to me? Man, you'll make a great tight end. Like, how the fuck do you figure I'm going to make a great tight end when I've never had my hand in the trenches, ever? Outside of my freshman year in high school, I've never played another position besides quarterback. So how in the hell did you assume I'm going to be a great tight end? So I really didn't get looks as a QB. Oddly enough, I did get an offer from the 49ers to play quarterback. And I got an offer from the Baltimore Ravens to play tight end. Baltimore Ravens offer more money and more of a signing bonus than the 49ers did. And I thought to myself, hell, everyone thinks I'm going to be a great tight end. I might as well go play tight end. So I chose to go to Baltimore instead of the 49ers, which I would have been a QB at the 49ers. And I think about that, it would have been a mobile quarterback, and it's a good chance they may not have picked Colin Kaepernick, because a few years later, that's when Kaepernick got picked up by the 49ers. So that's life.
Yeah. A lot of reflection, a lot of like, man, what if we made this choice right here?
Yeah.
I got a question though. What was it like putting your hand in the ground? Because I remember I tried arena for half a second, and they wanted to put me at the fullback there could play whatever. And I tried to put my hand in the ground. It is a completely different experience than running into somebody. So what was that like? Because now tight end, you got to block me.
Yeah. So it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, man. I had a dislocated finger, dislocated shoulder. And it's like you get down into the trenches, and this was actually Flacco's first year. This is Harbaugh's first year. And like I'm in the huddle with one of the tackles at about 6'7". So I'm like, all right, who are we trying to block? Him? All right, let's go. So I line up. One of my first practices, we in T-shirts, helmets, whatever. Line up across Terrell Suggs. He looks at me and says, you're standing between me and feeding my kids. I'm like, bro, this is practice. I don't even have a damn shoulder pads on. This is practice. Hut. Yeah, so my first taste of tight end wasn't very pretty. Now, no one could guard me, but I couldn't block for shit. So honestly, I stuck on there for a year, then got cut and went to Canada, came back to the UFL, played tight end in the UFL, actually did really well in the UFL as a tight end. Started there, then the league went bankrupt. But for me, putting my hand in the dirt, it was a hell of a transition. I honestly hated every moment of it. And honestly, when I got cut from the Ravens, I was actually happy. I didn't like playing tight end. I had lost love for the game because of playing that position. So it was a hell of a transition going from honestly being a pretty boy, never getting touched, to being in the trenches that really no one knows your name, and you're just pretty much a body out there trying to block.
Definitely understand that. That's how I felt in New Orleans. It was just like you're sitting there like, damn, I was just watching Vilmore. I mean, I played against him in college, but I was just watching him on TV.
Yeah.
And now you're just, oh shit. Like these guys are fast. These guys are pretty damn good.
And good, like the speed thing is like Willis McGahee was a running back. So I'm like, oh shit. Willis McGahee's behind me. Ed Reed's across from me. And I see Ray Lewis right there. I'm like, oh man, I'm in heaven right now. So I remember one specific play I'm blocking. It was a handoff to Willis McGahee and he breaks. I'm like, oh shit. Like this is awesome. Like it was just amazing like to see those kids and people that you idolize and yet you're in the same locker room playing across from them. And I'll never forget one of the first practices that I was walking back to the locker room and Ray Lewis was walking up behind me. He said, Mr. Xavier Lee. I'm like, Ray Lewis knows my name. It's like, man, I'm happy to have you here. I've watched you as a kid, watched you play against UM. So I'm proud to have you here, man. Good to see you. So yeah, hands in the trenches was different, but I hated it at first, grew to love it, but I'll always be a quarterback at heart, man.
Nah, I definitely understand that. Did you get a chance to play? You played arena at all?
I played in Calgary. I played arena ball in San Antonio for a bit, in Pittsburgh. Oh, crap. What else did I play in Arizona for the Rattlers? So I'll bounce around quite a bit in arena. And for me at that point, it was just honestly easy money. I didn't have much of a career going. I left college without a degree. So as far as finding a career path outside of football was extremely tough. And honestly, it wasn't until I met my wife that I literally hung up the cleats, although people stopped calling outside of arena ball and like tried to get a real job, which that's a whole other conversation in its own, like transitioning from playing football to moving to the real world. Because you got to think, I was 25 when I stopped. And most kids at 18, 19, they have already had some job experience. I had zero. The only thing I had on my resume was, hey, I played football for the Baltimore Ravens, Florida State, here, and here. So can I get a job? So that was a whole nother transition in itself, hanging up the cleats, humbling myself, trying to go get a desk job somewhere. At one point, I was literally a mover. I used to move furniture. It was a company called College Hunks. Yeah, College Hunks Movement. I'm pretty sure you've seen it around. That's what I worked for at one point. For literally like 5 months, I was a mover. I sure as hell wasn't a college, and I sure as hell wasn't a hunk. And at that point, I already had, my son. So it was hard transitioning from football to being a mover to being honestly working as a trash guy to finally get my break in IT sales, which I've been in since 2015, and progressed from there. So yeah, any other players I'm pretty sure can relate to, hanging up the cleats, man, that's a hell of a transition, being humble and trying to find a real job.
Nah, definitely. Even the physical part, because if you were there, were you on 50 on the 53, or were you on practice squad?
Practice squad. So I was practice squad. It was shitty, but at the same time, it was pretty cool to see the game from the sideline. But I was just honestly proud to be there. And like I said, once I got cut, I wasn't mad because I didn't want to play tight end.
I mean, I was more so saying even then the check is better than what a lot of other checks are. So what I always thought,
that's awesome. Like you get that money and then you go buy stuff you don't need. I had 2 cars, an Escalade and a BMW 650. I can only drive one at a time. So when I got cut, couldn't afford either. So realistically, after I got cut from Canada, got cut from Baltimore, I was legitimately homeless for about 3 weeks. I had nowhere to go. Didn't have any money coming in. So that was a whole nother transition in itself, man. Like a lot of people don't realize, like once you hang up the cleats or if things don't go your way, because legitimately I put everything I had into this football life. And once that final whistle blows, there really isn't a blueprint for what's afterwards. And honestly, it was a guy named Philip Scuderi. He was an FSU guy. He actually helped me out quite a bit as far as like letting me train his son, giving me some money so I can kind of get on my feet. So I'll always be grateful for Philip Scuderi for helping me out with that. But yeah, transitioning, man, once that whistle blows for the last time, it's hard to try to find your way in life.
Definitely understand that. That's one of the things that I always try to tell people. Actually, Matt Myrot shared something similar when me and him interviewed last week. And, everybody goes through that really rough transition process when it's all said and done. Then we all seem to find, once you find your way, you find what you're good at. All of the things that made you great at the sport kind of transitions into your job. So like if you being in IT sales, having an understanding for it, I could definitely 100% see how you could be successful in that. I tell people anything without a plan you're going to end up hating it, or it's going to be destined to fail. I see it with the military. I see it with the with sports. I see it with a lot of other different things. I still don't know what I'm doing in life. I just out here just freestyling, having a good time though doing it. But I've been lucky. But I did the training and I did stuff like that in the beginning. But also having kids kind of forces you to figure it out. Them kids want some force.
Yeah, I was forced, and like I said, my wife. Like honestly, if I would not have met her, who the hell knows where I'll be right now, man. Like I was not in the best of places, but like she honestly built me up, and then we had our son, and that gave me something to live for. So having him, like giving him all these life lessons that I'm telling you, like giving him those ways of how to approach life. And I always tell him, like, he always asks me, Dad, you're a 5-star recruit coming out? I'm like, yeah, I was good. He was like, so now if you're a recruit, would you have gotten millions of dollars? I'm like, yeah, I would have had probably like $5 to $10 million offered, and it would probably have been broke 2 years later because I wouldn't know how to manage it. Because mentally I wasn't there. And a lot of these kids, I'm sure, aren't in a mental space to be able to control that kind of money or have that kind of access. So yeah, my wife was a blessing. My son was even more of a blessing that I had to find a way to pivot from football.
Man, so talk to us about that. So how the hell do you end up in Omaha, Nebraska?
So I was playing arena ball at KC Command at that point. And I was like hitting on this one girl, and then my wife showed up. So I kicked her to the side because it was her friend. I kicked her to the side, and I was like, hey, let's make this official. So we wound up dating, and we lived in Phoenix for a while. And that's, when I worked for a moving company, then got into IT sales and did well enough in IT sales to get offered a field role at Hewlett Packard. So I had an option of taking in the Midwest, and her family from small town Nebraska. I had never been to Nebraska before that. I remember the first time I went to her parents' place, they have about 2,000 acres of just ranchers. So I go out there off the beaten path. It's 7 miles of dirt road. Closest stoplight, like I said before, was like 20 to 30 miles away. All stop signs, each one of those stop signs have bullet holes in them. So not the kind of welcome someone with Florida will expect. Get there, it's wintertime, it's snow on the ground, and I have zero service. So I'm like, shit, we're going off this dirt road. I'm about to get killed. Like, this is some Sopranos, taking me off the beaten path type crap. But like, honestly, her family's like amazing, man. Like, I could not have handpicked better in-laws. So she's just from small town Nebraska. I did well enough, got put on with Hewlett Packard, supporting the Midwest, and where we dropped anchor was Omaha. And my territories bounced around quite a bit, from Florida, supporting Florida. I was in Florida for a while. Now I still have accounts in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, so I go there when needed. But yeah, I love Omaha, man. It's off the beaten path. I mean, last week it was -30, but outside of that, it's been awesome.
Yeah, doing sports, I covered Jags. Last year I was in Kansas City and it snowed. But I was looking at it, if we would have had to go this year, they'd have had to fight me to get me to go out there and recover that. Like, it was -27. I said, no, not going to do it. Like, if I can't do it indoors, then I'm not doing it.
I honestly don't still see why they played that game, but that was brutal, man. Like, I don't mind the cold, but that was too damn cold. Like, right. I do miss Florida, though, I'll tell you that much. So
when's the last time you've been how's your brother doing?
He's good, man. He's down in Fort Lauderdale. He has a little girl named Kiani. He lives in Fort Lauderdale. He's doing well, though. Him, I don't know if you remember Pat Davis. Remember Pat Davis?
Yeah, no, did he? I see him all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, us three are in the group chat, so we send dumb shit just about every hour, 2 hours. But now we're still all really close, man. Pat was in my wedding. Obviously, Ant was the best man. So yeah, and we got married on the ranch out there.
I tell people about Pat. The funniest story about Pat is when I'll never forget when I first met him was spring ball when the walk-ons come, and he's coming to our door, and Coach Sex is like, "You need something, son?" And he was like, "Yeah, they told me to come here." He said, "Son, this is the running backs room." Like, he was like, "Yes, sir, I'm running." He's like, "Son, do you look around the room?" He's like, "This is the running backs room." He's like, "Sir, I play running back." He said, "Son, I haven't seen a white running back since the Betamax." I didn't even know what a Betamax was at the time. Then I had to look. The Betamax was what was the technology before VHS. I said,
Yep.
God, Coach, like he was the. But that's what I remember him, and then he stuck around, man. He was he's selling liquor now, if I remember.
Yeah, Chattanooga whiskey, man. I still have some of it. I try to get him to give me some bottles because I love bourbon. But yeah, he's working with Chattanooga whiskey. But man, Pat's been my guy ever since. It's funny how he and I became best friends. Was that I don't know if you remember Chase Walker and Drew Weather was supposed to go out, and those two assholes like just left. Like they just left me and Pat. And I'm like, shit, Pat, did they leave you? He's like, yeah. Well, they left me too. So he and I started chopping it up, and literally that's how we became like close friends because those assholes left without us, and me and Pat been cool since.
Awesome, man. But yeah, that's funny, man. That's good to hear about your brother, and then Pat again. Pat is somebody I look forward to. Coming back to we see you're in Omaha. We talked about the future. What are your thoughts on just where you see FSU kind of coming under Mike Norvell? Have you ever got a chance to meet him or talk to him?
I did. So I went to a game. Honestly, let me take a step back. I think FSU's on the right path, man. Like I am. This past couple of years, I have never been more proud to be a Seminole. Like I wear this hat around town, like with pride. Like being here in the Midwest, there's not very many FSU fans here at all. So when I wear like this, I have a tremendous amount of pride. And in all honesty, like Mike Norvell has brought that back. Like he's really put FSU back to where it belongs. And I hate to see how that bowl game played out, but I see it on both ends. As a player that, played in that game against, who they played?
They played Georgia.
So a lot of players who, played, who didn't play, like I feel bad because, hey, they're preparing for that next level. Like I got to go get this money. This game really doesn't mean much. But at the same breath, like you're leaving your brothers that you've sweat with for the last year and a half to get to this exact moment to kind of prove a point, and you kind of bail on them. But I get it from both ends there. I did meet Norvell right when he came on, and I went there a couple years ago for the NC State game. I had a chance to speak to the team before the game actually started. But no, he's honestly a guy who gets it. He takes a lot of pride in what he does. Like his energy is goddamn amazing. But any guy, a white guy that can rock some braids at a team photo, I gotta rock with him, man. Like I respect that. But no, I love what he's done for the program. I love who he is. And like I always tell my son, like if he does well enough, like if Norvell's at FSU, like I definitely want you to go play for him because he's a guy that he loves what he does and he has a passion, and that passion is overwhelming. I think all the players, like they see that, and that's why a lot of players are transferring from wherever they were to come play for Norvell. And a lot of them are transferring to go play for primetime as well, but they're coming to Florida State because of Norvell, in all honesty. I mean, they can go probably get more money somewhere else, but the prestige that he's brought back to this program is unmatched right now.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I always tell people, I get a chance to see him often. Not just because of the recruiting, but I go back home doing different things, going to games, having a son, my oldest son, like loves Florida State. They actually treat him way better than they treat me. Like they treat him like he played, and he walks around like he played. But that's when I actually knew Norvell was going to be good. My son doesn't smile or trust anybody. My son's just like whatever. Now he liked Fuller when he first met him. But Fuller also gave him a slice of pizza. Like, so that Fuller kind of bribed him. But when he goes down, but goes to see Coach Norvell. Coach Norvell does a great job of kind of goes out of his way to make sure that former players know that they're seen and they're acknowledged. And I told him that I think it is genuine because he consistently does it. So I think, obviously we're judged by the product that we put out, so wins and losses. But he's done a really, really good job of building it. And I actually went back and looked at my first interview with him from when he first got here, March of 2020. And then I listened to it, and he's literally – everything that he said in that interview, he's literally built the program based upon those things. And actually, this is a really good – this is why I like when I see stuff like this. Norvell's not that much older than one of us. Like, he just looks old. Yeah.
I just turned 38, so that's things. Which I can't
so he's like, he's look, Mike's birthday's in October 11th. I think Mike is 2 years older than me. Or at least a year older than me. But like,
I think he's 40.
I used to joke with people when people would be like, so Mike, you said you just turned 38?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be 40 this year. So like, so Mike's 2 years older than me. But still, people would be like, yo, he's Coach Norvell. You need to respect him. And I'm like, that motherfucker my age. Like, but it's still, I said, I was coached by Bobby. Bobby was my coach.
Yeah.
But I do respect I always tell people I respect the logo. But in it, I always joke and tell them I'm so glad and grateful that you guys are winning because I actually really like you guys. Yeah. And it's hard to talk bad about people that you like. And, the energy is definitely different. And I always tell people, they do a really good job of trying to reach out to us. I don't know if you've got a chance to meet Jeff Cup, but Jeff is always, trying to make sure guys come back. And, if you ever get this way, man, we have a hell of a tailgate that I'd love you to stop by and come get you some food. Now that I know you don't drink like that, you're definitely cheap. So you can come eat all the food you want. The food is
I'm all about the food, man. No, I plan on coming to the spring game, but I definitely want to bring my family to a game now that we're winning. I hate to be that kind of a fan, but it's good to see the program where it's at.
Right. Got one question. If you have any questions in the chat, now that we're kind of bring this to a close, this would be the opportunity to bring in here. Eric Lindball says, X, have you ever considered or have you ever thought about coaching at all? Are you coaching or is that something that you've considered?
I just train my son. Honestly, I help coach his 7-on-7 team. I give help when needed. I think at this age, the kids that I work with, my mind thinks too fast. So I would definitely be a great high school or college coach, but I just try to put my focus into him. I know that's selfish, but I help kids when I can help kids, but for the most part, I haven't really dove into coaching at all outside of like coaching his, flag team or, some of the 7-on-7 teams that I help him with. But I used to train kids, but honestly with work, as much as I travel, anytime I try to spend it with my family.
Oh, without a doubt, it's not selfish. You got to be selfish when it comes to your own.
My son is 10. I just saw a question down there.
That's when I got out of the gym, it was crazy. It was 2019, but so it was before the world shut down, and I had to renew my lease and for the space. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, man, I was throwing the ball with my son and catching. He was 5 at the time, if I remember correctly, or maybe just turned 6. And I just liked it. I was like, you know what? I've never played catch with my son before with my name. And I was like, this is hell no. I said, as many other kids as I've coached up, and then I took some time off. But it was the most fun I get is actually coaching my son's I-9 flag football teams. It's terrible football, but it forces me to be patient.
Yeah,
and I'm teaching them how to win. But it's like you said, my mind is processing things so much faster than them. I'm like, man, I'm telling the quarterback to throw a ball that he probably can't. He can't do it at 10. But I'm like, it's so simple. Why don't you?
Man, look off the defense, throw it to your check down. Like, what? How is that so hard? Like, but no, I've been playing catch with him since he could freaking walk. Like, I put a. And I hate to pull that whole card. My dad wasn't always there, but him and my mom, they weren't married. I mean, he did his best he could with what he had. So he and I honestly, legitimately didn't play catch till I was in college. I mean, you don't think about like how impactful that is to a kid. Like I said, he was a great dad. I love him. We did a lot of other things, but simple as catch, that goes a long way.
Right. And again, maturity. I always tell people I had a lot of issues with my own father until I became one.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it doesn't mean he was right. It doesn't mean he was perfect. It just means that players fuck up.
Yeah.
So like, everybody, even when you're trying your best, I always say he did the best with what he knew he did the best he could with the information that he had.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he was perfect. It just means that. My guy Jay Davis asked, what's a moment in your FSU history that you'll never forget?
Alabama.
Outside of the Alabama game.
You can't go past that one, man. It's always a couple plays. I'll always remember my first touchdown run. That was against Citadel, which at that point, the game was about over. I'll always remember that rushing touchdown. I'll always remember it was a play against Syracuse that I threw I stepped up in a pocket, threw like a touch pass to Chris Davis, and he dove for it. Like that was I remember that one. But in all honesty, like it does not get much bigger than throwing that hitch route to Cody Fax, seeing him stiff arm, and then going 70 yards, and then hearing the fireworks go off. And then after the game, like watching that interview of like Bobby saying that how proud he was of me of making the most of that opportunity. Like those are moments that you don't forget. So for me, selfishly, it unfortunately is that game, which is good and bad. But yeah, that's probably one of my best FSU moments.
Cody was that guy too. That's another. It's so many names that I believe are really, really big time that kind of get lost because of just we bring in more big time players. I tell kids that want to go to Florida State, I'm like, you realize you're probably going to sign and you could have a good career, but you won't be top 10 in your position.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's been that many great players that have come before you and that will come after you. Yeah. My guy Gianni, I'm gonna give him this. If you come to the tailgate, that's the only exchange of cash that I need. I don't need any of your money. Forget that. Will you be willing to sign autographs for fans if somebody comes up to you?
Oh hell yeah, man! Honestly, like we play ball and we leave. You don't realize like the lasting impressions we leave on people that watch our games. So I will always make time to sign anything because I understand like those moments are moments you don't forget. Like I remember it just as much as anyone else does, but like those fans mean so much to not just me, but like the programs. It's nothing for me to, write my name down. And I'm glad that people honestly still remember my name. So hell yeah, I wouldn't hesitate.
Who was one of the best athletes that you played with at who?
Cromartie.
Oh yeah, easy. Okay. That you play against. Everybody knows Crow. I gotta get me and Crow talk man, he's so much different now than he was in college. But he's awesome. He was awesome in college, but like he's just like Cromartie breaking down football. Like he wants to coach, and I keep telling him, bro, that's not fuck coaching.
Yeah.
Go into commentating. Like really go in. Like like he is so good at breaking. Like I just sit back and just shut up and just let him talk because he knows about just the game in general, and he's able to break it down on a very simple level, which a lot of people just like right now. It's the game is dominated by a bunch of people who never played this game.
Yeah,
and they speak about it, even though it is complicated, but they overcomplicate it to make it seem way more complicated than it is. And I tell people that's how I know you don't know it. I listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson stuff a lot. This man's an astrophysicist, and he can make anybody understand astrophysics, however you say it. But he knows how to explain damn near anything simple. Obviously, Bobby came in your house for half a second when he was recruiting you. Said, "I just wanted to let you know you're the first stop I made." But what's your favorite Bobby Bowden story in general?
It's one that you guys are probably not going to like, but it's fine. So I'm in the office, QB office. We're watching film with Coach Dickey, me, Drew, and some of the other quarterbacks. And Bobby Bowden walks in behind me because we had that grease board behind, and he draws up a stick figure on how to throw the deep ball. You throw it high, so either the receiver can get it or he comes back and gets a pass interference. So he draws this stick figure thing, and then I see Coach Dickey over there taking a picture of it. Like it's just the best artwork ever. It's literally stick figures of him throwing a guy like this or whatever. So he turns around and says, throw the ball far and high. Like Greg Carr, you throw it high, he'll go up and get it. If it's underthrown, at least he can come back and try to make a play on it or get pass interference. So he explains all of this. Then he turns to me and says, you got that, boy? And like walked out. He slapped me in the face. Bobby Bowden made that brilliant artwork, slapped me in the face, and walked out. So I'm sitting there in my chair about like this, smack. And everyone else is laughing. I'm like, man, this isn't funny. Like, I'm willing to risk my career to go drop his ass because he just slapped me in front of everyone. So that is my hands down best Bobby story. So when I get up there, Bobby, I haven't forgot. We got some words to figure out. He slapped me in front of everybody, in front of my crew.
Bobby Bowden slapped. Like, you remember his Friday night speeches? Because I was telling people about like right before the game. How were you extremely motivated by how deep he got into breaking down how the game was going to go?
Blockers block, quarterbacks throw it to the open receiver.
People think I'm lying. People think I'm lying when I tell them that.
If we score more points, we win. I'm like, no shit.
I'm like, guys, Bobby Bowden every week said the same goddamn speech. And he wrote it down every week on a sheet of paper about that big. And he read it.
Man, blockers block, receivers catch the ball, defenders hit him on the rise. Hit him on the rise, man. And then quarterback throw to the open man. Hey, we score more points than him, we win.
And he said it with emphasis, like I'm about to drop this ball on you. I don't know if y'all realize this.
Man,
if we score more points than the other team,
we win. It's funny. I'm sitting there like, damn, I didn't think about that. If we score more points, we win.
Like damn, Bobby, I never. So another thing. So we're playing Florida, right? My sophomore year. So I know I'm having a shoulder surgery at the end of the season. I have a broke hand, and then the first play of the game, I think it was Channing Crowder steps on my left hand. So I ain't got no hands. I got no hands, no shoulders. I go out there and I just try to hit somebody. When I tell you I missed the blocks. It was so bad. Yeah. It was so bad. I'm coming on, and Billy said some shit to me that made me want to be like, dog, if I had the energy, I would whoop your ass right now, Billy. I did not need this shit. So I'm sitting on the bench, dejected. Bobby comes over there to me, says, now, Colin, now listen, son. Now, this is what I need you to do. You see those guys over there with the blue jerseys, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to run full speed into one of them. And, son, that's block. So all you got to do is run full speed into one of them. Pick which one you want, Colin. Just block one, and then you're going to be okay, son. That's going to be blocking. And then he walks away, and I'm like, no fucking shit. I didn't try that. I didn't think about trying that shit.
I did not think about that. No,
but he didn't slap me though. He did not slap me. He just he tapped me on my shoulder.
Like a nice. I mean, he just.
So he hit Charlie Murphy.
It was straight Charlie Murphy. It caught me so off guard. I'm just sitting there like, I'm like, wait, did Bobby just slap me in front of everybody? It was literally about 5 people in the room. He walked in, drew a stick figure, slapped me, and walked out.
The story was good enough because it reminded me of everything that Bobby is when you said he drew a stick figure. And then he gave you some insight to playing quarterback that you never thought about. Let me throw the hit high to the tallest motherfucker on the team.
And it was dotted. Like, it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It was dotted all the way to the target.
Oh, man. Yeah. That might have made the interview. That's definitely going to get cut up right there.
Man.
I'm going to give you some – I don't know who this is, but he says you dropped 60 points on him in high school. And he's still mad to this day.
Damn. I tell you what, in all honesty, my senior year, actually part of my junior year, most games I didn't play after the third quarter because we would get up so quickly and I just stopped playing. Like, I just watch. And I always think, like, damn, if I would have played a lot of those games more, like, how much more would I have broken the record? Because now, like, my numbers are shit. Kids are hitting that as their junior, senior year. But if I would have played more games, who knows what? But yeah, no, we used to put up points. Like Mark Beach, he's actually a coach now in the Atlanta area. Like he had a playbook that came from actually Valdosta State. That's where his playbook came from, and that's what we ran.
Nice. And that's okay. So basically, that's where the It's crazy when you go back and you like who all was there at Valdosta State and how that offense now. Basically, That's where everything. That's who was supposed to come, right? I can't think of his name now, but the head coach at Valdosta State at that time instead of Mark McHale.
Really?
JB was supposed to step down and leave, but he didn't get the job that he was supposed to get. And they were going to bring in Valdosta State's head coach to be the OC because Bobby wanted to change the offense to a wide open spread.
Damn. What if?
Yeah. Wouldn't have helped me, but my senior year we went away from the running game anyway. So
yeah, it was screens. That was what we used to run for damn runs with screens.
But yeah, so but appreciate Caleb Marshall donate something. Appreciate that, Caleb. I don't know if you had a question. Wish you had a question, but was Peter Boer was Pete with the Ravens still when you got up there? He retired, but
he's already gone
because he left and then they brought in T Sizzle.
Yep, correct.
But yeah, man. So other than that, man, I really appreciate you coming on and spending this time, man. It was dope, man. I really like doing these because I feel like I get a chance to catch up and everybody else gets just a chance to see us chop it up, man. If you please let me know if you guys do make it for the spring game. Love to break bread with you, love to come hang out with you a little bit, man. And bring the family, our tailgates, even though we have adult beverages and stuff like that. We have kids around. So like it's time to be some kids throwing the football, getting into shit like kids do. At the end of the day, man, I really appreciate especially I think the biggest thing from this isn't just about your playing career, how great you were of a high school prospect, what you went through in college and still getting the opportunity to play in the NFL, which I remember Trap J broke it down to me. It's a crazy small amount of people who have ever played in the NFL. Even like from when it started, but the triumph, the tragedy, back to triumph, and spitting some of that real stuff, because I don't think the average fan or even other players understand what people actually do go through when it's all said and done. So, and I definitely know fans don't think about that because all they see is the opportunity to play and they're like, that's what they would want to do because that's what they dream and they wish they could do it, but they don't understand what comes with it. So I appreciate the transparency, brother. As always, anything that I can do to help you, please do not hesitate to reach out, man. And again, just thanks for the time, my brother.
Tell you what, I need to get that shirt you got on, and you got to send me that picture.
Oh yeah, I definitely. What we're gonna do is if you come, so I'm gonna tell you how to get anything that you want from Florida State. Hang out with Peter Ward. So if you come early enough, we're gonna get with Pete, and Pete gonna take him. Like Pete's like, yeah, JC, you can come do this too. I said, dog, I am not fucking Peter Ward. You are Peter Ward. You can go do whatever you want to do. So I was with Pete and Snoop, and they're like, hey man, give us a bag. Bring me up some of them shorts. Give me a shirt. Give me a sweatshirt. Like we came in and we left with a book bag full of FSU gear. And I was just like, he's like, you ain't never asked for this? I said, dog, they got a picture of you in the locker room as soon as you walk in. There are no pictures of me anywhere in here. Nope. And it's just, but it's dope, man. Like it's he can probably get you. I looked into getting one of these because I had to take a blind kid to the Doak game. That's how I got this. So I mean, I didn't get this because of anything that I did. I did it because they were like, oh, here you go, James. Thanks for helping the community. You did good. Here you go. But this hoodie's clean. I'm trying to get what Mike got though. Mike had this. It was an energy he had this season. I hope he does it again next year. I got the gray hoodie he had when we went 10-3. I want the black cutoff. Like he had a cutoff sleeve hoodie that he wore most of the season.
You know what that is though, right? He got a regular Nike shirt and he had the emblem put on it.
You know what? That I actually been wondering because Mike got some stuff that I don't think they sell, man. I think they
don't sell it that way. He gets like a Nike shirt that he loves and he gets the emblem on it.
All right, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Angelo, to your point, that's exactly what Pete said. Pete literally said, "We're gonna come treat this locker room. We're gonna come treat the equipment room like it's Dillon's in the '90s." And I said,
"Oh my god, that's a good one."
Yo, I can't believe you just said that.
Damn.
But yeah, my guy said that. Matt Larson is one of the guys who's going to be cooking the food. You got to get the jambalaya. He's there. Actually, the new court. Oh, have you seen any video? I guess we got another 200 big ass quarterback. That's athletic. That's fast. Have you seen I'm not even going to DJU from out of
Yeah, I've seen him. That's a big boy. I don't know if he can move that well as you think, but he's a big boy. He has a pretty good arm. I watched him a few times. He's not bad. We'll see.
But definitely, man. All right, man. We appreciate you, brother. I'm about to go ahead and log off on this, man. But again, look forward to seeing you in April. And we'll talk more and we'll try to see if we can't get you some cool gear when you get down this way, man.
I'm more excited about that food you're talking about. So looking forward to it, man. And thank you for having me. It means a lot.
If we don't do nothing else, man, we eat good at the tailgate, man.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys, that's Xavier Lee. Again, if you guys like this, these types of interviews, continue to share, tell everybody about them. Let me know who you would like to see us interview next. We're trying to get as many guys in here as possible. Just sharing and recollecting about how we got the program to where it's at. And I think the most important thing is what guys are doing now off the field. One of the things that I always tell a lot of young men is that if you go to Florida State or somewhere else and you're not able to leverage that into a career post football, then you might have wasted your time. So, but even if it's hard, but I think hearing stories like what X did, hearing stories about like what Matt Myrod did, or even what Lo Booker doing, we show a blueprint of how to connect. And I think one of the things that we have to start doing a better job as a fan base, as well as former players who are making it, is connecting the dots and making sure that people can use this as leverage. So he said he's going to be at the tailgate, so hopefully we'll get him there. You guys can show him love. And again, that's probably the biggest recruitment that we have as a fan base, is how we treat everybody else. And yes, I will get Leon, we'll get Snoop, we'll get the Crow told me he don't want to. Me and Crow talk way too reckless. But y'all got to tell Crow on social media that he's got to come on. Y'all got to tell Crow that we got to get you to do an interview with James, famous James. I don't know where Fred is at right now in life. Fred might. I hope he's not in jail. Last time I saw Fred might have been locked up, but I hope he's not. But Fred got to get Fred's going through it. So y'all just, from what I've seen before, hopefully he's got that stuff together. Outside of that, man, again, trying to get to 5,000 subs. We're 424 away. We're from 5,000. The goal is to have 10,000 by the end of the year. We've had a lot of gifted memberships, so we were at 170. The goal is to get 500 memberships. And I really just want to continue to grow the channel, continue to grow these different things. Remember, all of the money that we have, that we raise on this channel, goes toward our back to school initiatives, goes towards our community engagement. So be on the lookout for some pictures that we'll have again from my Tallahassee Christmas drive. I know it's damn near Valentine's Day now, but we'll still post Christmas drive in Tallahassee pictures. I'm also going to read to my former elementary school. I got asked to do that. I'll be at Appalachia Elementary School on Thursday to go and read. I will also be at I'll be the keynote speaker at the first middle school that I ever went to. Ironically, I got kicked out of that middle school at Fairview Middle School. So Chris Thompson, actually Chris is here. Chris Thompson and another local guy here in Jacksonville are two guys that I'm going to get. I like some of these names that you guys have. I'm not sure if I can get this one on while he's coaching at another school. I have to wait. I'll talk to my guy Ernie to see what we can do. But yeah, man. So appreciate you guys for chopping it up with me. We will see you guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's a completely different feel. I mean, our first one went there, and then I got lazy and then went over. But then when I read,
yeah, you put most of them in there.